Boys. Welcome to the show for men. I'm your host, G-Man, and today we're going to take a look at the average experience that guys out there have on the dating apps. Not the Chads and Bryces that we joke around about and talk smack about. Your average guy out there, which includes myself and you guys at home. You make some really good points. You can talk about some of the impacts that it can have to self-esteem and just general views on women. So go and check out his full video if you want to see it without any interruptions. Link in the video description. As always, let's keep going.
So the title of this video really isn't an exaggeration, by the way, because honestly, I used dating apps for a few months last year, and I realized that it was having some really strange effects on my mind. And once I actually started to realize those things, I stopped using them completely. And obviously I'll get to that later and explain it in more detail. But I just wanted to start off by talking about my experience on dating apps as what I would call an average guy. I mean, I think it's pretty fair to say I'm an average guy, like by objective standards. Obviously, look at me, I'm not the best looking person out there. I'm really short and 5'6", so that sucks. But I kind of make up for it, I'd say, because I'm in decent shape and I think I have good pictures. But the best way
I think it's he's not wrong. He's not completely horrendous looking or anything like that. But there's probably one thing here that I'll call out is, look, he's from an Asian background, okay? And that generally puts you on the back foot with Western women. That's just been my observation and what I've been told. Yeah, there were some super good-looking Asian dudes out there that might buck this trend. But generally, the complaints I've heard from even Asian guys that I'm friends with, guys that I work with, it's all the same thing. Very, very tough to get white girls, Western women. And I said, that's probably a good thing, mate. You probably don't want one. But he didn't have a bad profile at all. He was reasonably in shape. He'd probably be average, or if not a little bit above average. But the average guy probably is a little bit out of shape these days. Okay? And he's not... The one thing that's probably not going for him, but he's going to struggle. And look, everyone's probably already pointed out, it's the height. Most of them are going to be very much fixated on that, whether they tell you to your face or not. That's one thing that we as men can't control is our height. And now I didn't deal with any of that stuff because I'm tall. So I'm 6'4", but I'll touch under 6'4", so I claim 6'4". So I never had that issue, and I do believe it did help me out greatly, especially even just putting it on my profile on the dating apps. So that's definitely a thing. So average guys, especially if you're short, you're going to have a hard time on there. Because whether or not women want to make out like they're joking about it, they're going to be very obnoxious about height. And they're going to have in their profile, not all of them, but a lot of them, you'll read it. Don't date guys shorter than me, I want to wear heels, all that sort of BS, which is a saving grace for you because you're going to realise that those kinds of women will just drive you mental anyway. So they're disqualifying themselves by trying to disqualify you. So no hard feelings on those ones, guys.
I can really describe it. If I were to sum up this video in just one sentence, is that trying to find a real relationship from a dating app is like constantly having a carrot dangled in front of you. It always seems like, oh, maybe there's a possibility, but it just always ends up somewhat out of reach for some reason or another. Like something always goes wrong. For example, obviously, for an average guy, it's very rare to get good matches in the first place. But let's say you actually do match with someone that's attractive, which in my case, it would be like once every few days at best. You send a message, they don't respond, okay, whatever. But let's say they do respond. Well, then it's usually just a, yeah, okay, haha. One of those really short-ass responses. And
all right, let me talk about that. So we're talking about the average experience for men on dating apps. Even Chads or Bryces and all that sort of stuff, these guys experience this same BS as well, just less of it. So one thing I really noticed being on the dating apps is that women just don't have any game at all. Very few were funny and charming beyond having beauty. Like there was no banter or good banter. Some women try the banter, but they just come across rude or try to neg you or whatever it is. Women just aren't good at it. They're not good at stimulating conversation. Think about when you've ever matched with a girl on Bumble and they have to make the first move. I'm not sure if that's still a thing now. I think they can choose because I think Bumble was struggling. And I had a couple of mates on there and they were telling me women can now message, you can now message women first if they put a box or tick a box or something in their profile, which then gives you that ability. Why is that? Because guys are probably getting pissed off and getting off the apps because women put no effort in. So the point that I was getting to before I got minorly sidetracked there was you get a match. And because they have to initiate a conversation, you get some lowercase high in lower cases. A wavy hand emoji, a smiley face, a tropical island, whatever low value BS that they've put in there, low effort bullshit, then now you have to try and carry and say something. So then what do you go and do? What does the average punter do who's still plugged into the system, still thinks he needs to jump through hoops? He tries to be funny, tries to refer to a profile, tries to get some sort of engagement going, has to do a bit of thought, trying to get the conversation going. What are you going to get a lot of the time are going to be one-word answers, unless they're really into your profile, like you are the best profile that's come across their deck or whatever in the short term. Because generally they're fielding many different matches, likes, all that sort of stuff. So they might have matched with you and they did the high lowercase, engagement with you, high lowercase. You can tell they've probably done that to 30 guys in that hour. They've gone home from work. They've cracked open their app, okay, and they've swiped, or they've gone, they might have paid for it. Very few do, but they've done that and they've got 150 matches that day, or 200 or 1,000, and they're trying to just go through them. You might have made the cut to get an initial low value, high response. That's what's happened there. There's just too many guys trying to talk to them. And so if you're getting literally nothing, she's already talking to 5, 10 other, juggling messages, juggling conversations. And I can tell you that why, because I was a guy who was able to pull that off on those dating apps. So I'm talking to 5 girls at once and giving them all low value messages because I didn't have the mental capacity to engage in these conversations with 5 different women at the same time, let alone being a woman and having probably 100 guys wanting to talk to you.
The conversation just usually ends up going nowhere until she just stops replying altogether at some point. But let's say that they actually do send more than like a 1 or 2 word answer. You're a few messages into the conversation, you think that things are going well, and then boom, you're ghosted. Out of nowhere, just no response. That's something.
No response. Happened to me heaps. You need to understand if you're out monster hunting, which monster hunting for me, not looking for a relationship. Like this guy looks like a guy who's plugged in. He's using apps to try and hunt for relationships, which comes off as needy and gives really needy energy to women. Women like to sort of be chased, but also feel like if they're going to lock down a guy or be interested in a guy, he's got to be high value in quotes, perceived to them. So as I always talk about guys, if you want to put a little bit of mayonnaise on your stories, a bit of a backstory that's not 100% factually correct, go for it, especially if you're looking for short term. Pique the interest. They want some guy like that to be making effort over them, but also not be too keen. So you get guys who follow the script, the societal script, the training. Maybe your sister told you some tips, maybe your mum told you some tips, or even women you've talked to and they've given you some advice on what women like. Disregard all of that because it doesn't work. And so he's going, I'll be a nice guy, I'll compliment her, I'll say she looks pretty in her photos, like every other 1,000 guys she's talked to that day. Who try and come up with some clever bullshit in their profile. They don't care about all that. And so you've been ghosted because there's no attraction. There's no desire at all. There's not even a 1% chance in her mind that she'll ever meet you or want to talk to you. So they block and delete you. You come back onto your profile and you might have had 2 matches or 1 match, because that's why guys get really pissed off with ghosting, as women don't get as annoyed about it. It's a lot more scarce for men. So a guy like this will probably get a match a week or something. Like he wouldn't get much. And so then he thinks he's talking to a girl and he's got a chance, not realising she's talking to 15 other dudes. And then she ghosts him. That's a sense of loss and disappointment. Now, when I was on there, I'd get deleted and blocked and all that stuff. I didn't care less because I knew I could get more matches pretty quickly. I know that what another one goes. right? That door, that rotating door in the office building, you walk through and chicks just come walking out, walking through, and some disappear, and all that. That's how I sort of looked at it. I didn't care because I did have the options. And I was good at, marketing myself and putting a bit of mayo on stories because, you got to learn. Skynet's got to learn. Guys like this, they probably don't come across or stand out in any way. The guys who stand out, they're all lying anyway to an extent. It's all marketing. It's all advertising. Their lives aren't like in their profiles are showing. They're not as affluent as their profiles are showing. They're not as exciting and fun. It's all lies. And so get good at it because that's how you get successful. And it's, look, a lot of guys don't like that. But it's the truth. All right, Jen, it's probably halfway through. If you're enjoying the channel, please sub, share, and comment. Engaging with the channel and also watching the videos through really helps me out, especially now I've got this new channel. So guys who are new to me, I've had a previous channel. It did quite well, but some of the things I talk about and say, obviously on the nose to YouTube and more or less the reach has been severely limited. So I've created this new channel and it's going well so far. So I appreciate you being here, but please watch the videos through as much as you would like to because it does help me.
Something else that's really common. But then let's say they actually don't ghost you, they keep talking to you. You even exchange numbers, set up a date. A few days pass, you text them like, hey, are we on for tomorrow still? And then no response. 1 hour, 2 hours, a few hours, whole day goes by, then you realize you're cooked again. But let's say you...
All right, no. I'll give you another example. This has happened to me heaps of times. I'm telling you right now, right? You jump in your car, all right? You've got a date lined up, say 7 o'clock, you're meeting for pizza somewhere. Or even, you might even just be meeting up for a walk somewhere, whatever it is, you've had plans. You jump in your car, you're all fired up, you're pretty jacked up, you're looking forward to the date or the catch up or whatever it is. You put Google Maps on your phone because you're driving to wherever, and you follow the Google Maps. And then when you get to there, you get to the car park where you've gotten to, or you pull up to wherever it is, and you go and check your phone to say, oh, hey, I'm here, or whatever it is. And they've messaged you 2 minutes. So you say you're going to meet at 7, they've messaged you at 6:50. Oh, I can't make it tonight. My mum died. Or my sister broke up with her husband and I've got to get over there right now. Or some other bullshit, outrageous excuse that a lot of men tend to believe. Okay, sorry to hear that. I hope everything's okay. Let's try and catch up again soon. But that's happened to me. And I was like, what a load of bullshit. Why can't people just not make plans if they're not that keen on you? But that's something that a lot of guys experience. Literally getting stood up, not ghosted, stood up. Then the other side of that is you go out for a date. You go and you pay for that date. Okay? You have a good time. Because most guys are going to pay. Most guys are plugged in. They're going to try and pay because no pay, no play. If you take them somewhere nice, the general consensus is you're going to have a higher chance of getting some action or get them to like you or want to see you again or think you're a great, fantastic guy. Wrong. And so you get to your car, you drive home, and you get home and you go to message the girl. Or you might have a phone number. So say you got a phone number and you both got Apple phones, and instead of getting the blue bubble, you've gotten the green bubble, which means it's either the green bubble means you're blocked or undelivered, I think, or it doesn't say delivered. And you go, oh, that's weird. You might try and call her the next day straight through the voicemail. You've been blocked. So they've taken you out. You've gone out for a date, and they've done the male version of pumping and dumping, which is going out for a date, foodie call you, get rid of you. It's really amazing that. Or that can even just happen in the app, not even phone. You go into the app to check her profile, you get home, or you might tell your mate you had a date with this chick and she was hot, and he goes, oh, show us a picture, and you might want to screenshot her. Gone, she's removed herself. So guys cop it. That's why guys get annoyed, because you go and spend a whole bunch of time and effort going to dates, getting ready as well, driving places, spending money, right? Spending money on dates. That's the thing. Like, you want to go out for a date here in Australia. You want to go out for dinner, have a couple of beers, and they have a couple of wines. And you're running $200. At a half decent place, you're going to run $200 minimum. So you're going to spend $200 that you wouldn't, and people will say, well, half of that was for you. Well, no, because you wouldn't have gone and spent that money otherwise. Guys don't like dating. We just do it to try and get some action. End rant.
You actually do end up meeting up and going on a date. She's a bit rude in some subtle ways. She's a bit uninterested. She's looking down at her phone all the time. Maybe in my case, like she'll make some kind of passing comment about my height. And then at that point, you realize, like, damn, there's no point in pursuing this. But let's go a step further. Let's say the date actually does go well, the first date. You even text her after and you make plans for a second date. And then what happens a few days later? Ghosted out of nowhere again. She stops talking to you, and then you just think to yourself, like, damn, what went wrong? I don't know, man. That's at least pretty much my experience summed up on dating apps. It's like at every step of the way, there's something that's gonna go wrong at some point. And
So that's the reality, right? And even then, when you meet up, and then in the subsequent dates, you need to think about it like this. There are different branches, right? Look at it like a decision tree. There are many different permutations and different kind of scenarios that can happen that'll make a chick lose interest in you all the way along, the whole way, even talking into relationships and marriage, let alone the dating process. So dating is when it's the most volatile. Now, you could run a Monte Carlo simulator on it. If you guys know what a Monte Carlo is, it's a mathematical model where you input different parameters for a particular thing, and it runs a automatic assessment on those with different outcomes and has different lines or different trajectories on charts and all that sort of stuff. That's a Monte Carlo. Think about dating as a Monte Carlo. It's all about probabilities. And so that's a problem. You're going to say something. You're going to talk too much. You're going to say something. You're going to talk about your ex-girlfriend, or you're going to say that she was a bitch, or you're going to say whatever it is, right? You're going to talk about politics. She might like what you do for work. You might be, I don't know, working at an abattoir and you kill baby lambs or something, and then she's like, "Oh, I work for, I go and work for Greenpeace and PETA or whatever it is, animal justice and all that stuff. I'm a vegan, and she's a vegan, and you eat meat." There's 1,000 things that can happen along the way. So guys are really really up against it. As they say, the women call it the ick. I hate that word, but even grown women who are 50 say this. And the ick is just an excuse for a woman to cull you in her mind so she can just wipe you and have some sort of justification for it to her friendship group or whatever. Good old ick.
I don't know, maybe you can relate to that. I feel like based on the people I've talked to, they can kind of relate too. And at the beginning, probably like a lot of you, I thought it was just me. I thought these experiences might just be unique to me because, I don't know, maybe I don't have any game, maybe I'm too ugly, maybe I'm too short. You start to think like, oh, it's probably my own fault. But yeah, over time I realized that this actually happens to everyone. At least like the average guy on dating apps. I don't know about girls, I don't know about like chads or whatever, very attractive.
Happens, and I'm not saying I'm a Chad, but I was someone who was able to lure women in with a good profile. You could call it maybe a Chad profile, but it happened to me as well, heaps of times. Because there's always someone better looking than you that's going to come over the top. There's always the fantasy in their mind. Can they do better? Is there some better guy? There might be some guy who's better looking than me, or had bigger muscles than me, or had a nicer profile than me, or was smoother than me and went along with the program a bit more than me. Whatever it is. Like, it just happened all the time. And even you guys, you other Chads and Bryces out there who do watch, I know there are a few of you, put in the comments. This bullshit happens to everybody. It doesn't matter.
Men. But yeah, this is the dating app experience for the average guy. Talking to my friends, they have pretty similar things happen to them. And if you go online and look at anything about online dating, it really does seem like a vast majority of guys like me are in the same boat. Just feeling frustrated and burnt out from the constant cycle of chasing and rejection and chasing and rejection. Or even worse, just like being purposefully led on in some cases. And obviously it's like, yeah, the simple solution is just stop using dating apps, bro. You don't have to use them. You can just meet someone in real life. Yeah, 1 + 1 is 2. That is possible. That's what I'm personally trying to do nowadays as well. But the truth is that it's just not easy for a lot of people. It's more difficult than ever. I've seen the statistics, maybe you've seen them too, about how the percentage of couples who meet from online dating is just skyrocketing. And on the other hand, the percentage of couples who've met in real life are just getting lower and lower. And it seems inevitable, you know, because with social media, the internet, AI, and all that stuff, like, it seems like our world is becoming completely reliant on technology to make us connected, but in a way it's making us more disconnected. I've talked about it in a previous video as well, but like, there's really no more third spaces to meet people, and especially not to meet girls and have romantic intentions going into it as well. Like, not only are there less places to possibly meet girls, but it's also socially less acceptable to do so nowadays. Like, to approach girls in public or do day game or whatever it's called. And it's just a result of a cultural shift, basically, because
But I think it's that whole day game stuff. You got to be very careful with that. So guys who go and do that, I think that was very 2000s, even 2010s. Got to be really careful now. There was an article in an Australian newspaper here very recently about a guy. He should know better too. Like, he asked you for trouble doing this sort of stuff, but he had those new Ray-Ban Meta sunglasses. So they're Ray-Bans, and they have two micro cameras hidden in the frame in very nondescript areas. And so he would put the camera on and he would go and approach chicks. And he would go and chat up chicks. And then he would put the successful ones up on his TikTok channel. And he was getting millions and millions and millions of views. Well, what happened? One of these women obviously was not happy with it. I wouldn't be happy with it, being filmed, my full face filmed, not having anything in the public domain, not having no permission to put something out. Like, it's different with these TikToks because these women are putting them already selves out there. That's public information. If you're having someone approach you with glasses and cameras and then putting it up, I don't agree with that either. So anyway, she didn't agree with it. This guy got in big shit, and he's copping a bit of backlash. I can't remember exactly what's happened to him, but he's been doxxed now. He's been doxxed. They had his name all over the internet, and the media is really going for him. So really stamping out any type of this pickup stuff. So that's what you need to be careful of. And there's also, I'm not so sure if it's laws, but society's tolerance, I'll say, at the very least, for men approaching women, and maybe that woman might not have wanted to be approached, is very low. And so if then a woman complains, you might have said something at work, it might have been a work function. If you're stupid enough to do that, guys, like, that's purely what it is. If you do something like that, you need to reassess what you're doing at work. Don't be doing that stuff. And it goes to HR, you're sacked instantly. No questions asked, no real investigation, gone. Happens to a lot of guys. I've seen it happen to a lot of guys. Guys get pissed at a work Christmas party, they try and pick up girls, gone, deleted from a business, cancelled. So what the point I'm saying is, the online apps, they're horrible, but people will say, we'll go do day game then, go and talk to women in public. Well, that's just as, has its own problems.
Nowadays, a lot of girls obviously don't want to be approached by random dudes on the street or at the park, and that's totally understandable. And on the other hand, a lot of guys don't want to randomly approach girls because if it doesn't go well, like especially if she just doesn't think you're attractive, you can literally get in trouble for that as a guy nowadays. And it's like, is that really a risk worth taking? Because I feel like a lot of people dismiss it and just say, you just need to get the confidence to approach girls in public, and you're just pussying out if you don't do that. And I feel like a lot of girls might think that as well. Like, oh, why don't I get approached anymore? I've heard girls say that. They might think guys are like psychologically too afraid to approach. But from my...
Think about it. Any girl saying that, that means I want a really ideal man in my mind for whatever that guy is in that woman's mind. I want him to approach me at the coffee shop. I don't want this dude on screen to approach me. I don't want him. I don't want G-Man to approach me. I want Mr. Fantasy Man that I've built up in my head to approach me. That's what they're saying. They don't want some random Indian DoorDash driver guy to come and approach them. And that's not a racial thing. I'm just saying. Like, they don't want that. They don't want this Asian guy to approach them. They don't want. It's just, yeah. It's a very delusional thing to say.
My perspective as a guy, and obviously knowing a lot of other guys, it's just a risk versus reward kind of thing. Like, if she doesn't think you're attractive, she's gonna think you're creepy. And a lot of bad things can happen. If you do it at work, you can get fired. If you do it at the gym, you're gonna be called a weirdo. If you do it at a park or grocery store or some shit, you're gonna get people looking at you funny. And it's just like, again, it's just a cultural thing that not only is it harder to meet people organically, but it's also less acceptable to approach girls, and that's why people are doing it less, and that's why people have been going more and more to dating apps, because there's really not that many socially acceptable ways to meet girls anymore, especially once you're out in the real world after college and high school. I'd say the only real places where it's considered appropriate to hit on girls are at clubs and bars. But obviously those aren't the best ways to meet people if you're looking for something resembling an actual relationship, because they're just as superficial, if not even more, than the dating apps. And the people there are usually just not even the right people, and everyone's drunk anyways, so that's just...
These young guys, it's very interesting, especially these really plugged in guys. As much as I don't like using that terminology because it comes across as derogatory, but it's not. I just don't know how women work, majority of women. Like, he's here talking about it, getting just absolutely disregarded, not valued, all that stuff. But they're saying they want serious relationships. I'm looking for a relationship. If these guys knew what happened to most guys when guys get into serious relationships, the ups, the downs, and some of the horrible things that can happen through divorces and breakups, they would not be hunting for relationships. These guys here, I think the reason, in my honest opinion, is, yes, it's a personality thing. Like my mate Larry, who I talk about, he's not a pump and dump kind of guy. He won't do it. So he always, every girl he goes with, every girl he sleeps with, he has some sort of relationship. It always ends up burning in flames, right? So Larry's just an older version of this guy, really. And so guys who, A, either don't want to pump and dump, or B, can't, and don't have the confidence and the value proposition for a woman that they provide is safety and security, and this guy will be around, he'll always be there to ask for help with something, pick me up from work and take me to work and take me to my friends and pick me up from the nightclub at 3 a.m. and whatever it is, the list goes on, he'll do it. So they get guys like this and they go out with them. Then they get absolutely trashed, and these guys probably end up going full-blown down the rabbit hole.
Just like hookup culture and whatever you want to call it. And that whole nightlife stuff, it requires a lot of time, money, effort into it as well. And it's an effort that's not really worth it. Like me personally, I don't think I know any couple who's met from a club or a bar. It just doesn't happen anymore. So long story short, like for all those reasons, like by process of elimination almost, it's not a surprise why dating apps are on the rise, It's like the only viable option that doesn't incur a huge risk or cost associated with it. So logically, it makes sense that more and more people are using dating apps, or at least trying to. At least that's how it was for me. That's the reason why I started using dating apps. Like, for example, last summer, I graduated from college, I moved to a new city, and I used dating apps to try to meet people because I didn't know anyone, I didn't have any social circle here. But after a few months of being on those apps, like I think I just used the big three, Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge, it literally broke my mind. That's the weird part.
So I'm going to have some closing remarks here because this video, look, we're halfway through and we're approaching 30 minutes, so we're getting on the longer end. And I don't want to bore you. So I'll give you my honest opinion about dating apps. So for the average man, and when I say average, just your normal guy out there. Okay, average isn't bad. Average is your average height and you're not super buff or whatever it is, okay? Whatever your version of average is. I'm sure we're on the same page. You essentially are paying on a dating app because most guys will pay, or a lot of guys will pay, especially if they don't have initial success, they then do pay to win. You go and pay on a dating app to have your self-esteem damaged, your self-worth questioned, and be treated badly. And people, you see the worst women on dating apps because it's just like the internet. I'll say YouTube comments or emails, for example. I get a lot of bad things sent to me, said to me and sent to me in comments or emails. And I think to myself, look, I'm not a big tough guy. I'm not some fighter, all right? But if you guys have met me, and I've actually have bumped into a couple of you guys who you may watch, I'm sure you'll agree. I'm not the kind of guy you would just abuse to their face. I'm not a small guy. I'm not a pushover looking guy, but people will do that. And so think about that. It's human nature to show if you're a bit of a weasel or whatever it is, to say things and act a certain way on the internet. Women are going to do it too. And you see that attitudes with a lot of them. So you see the real nature of people. And I think that's what people get upset about, because everyone feels safe behind their apps and keyboards and whatever it is. Same as women, right? Bumble and Hinge, I find, were somewhat good. Like, I haven't been on them since 2021, all right? And the reason for that, guys, is I got burnt out on them. So I was a serial womanizer for years after a separation, divorce. And I think I was using that as like a therapy, right? And I was having a lot of fun too. But I was serial womanizing. I just got tired of it. I was just wasting too much time on it, too much focus on it. Yes, I still do see women. I've got women in my life, but I'm not chasing around different chicks every day and all that sort of thing like I was doing for years on end. Just got tired of it. Some people say it's a nice problem to have, but when you do it for long enough, you just get a realization that all these problems that guys are having, all their complaints that they're having, they wouldn't have them if they had the same experiences that I've had, or guys like me who have had good luck with women, or not luck, good experiences with women over the years through dogged persistence. You just don't look at it in the same way. And you wouldn't be saying, oh, I want a relationship and all of that. You just wouldn't. Really, women need to qualify themselves to you, not guys complaining. These guys, if they could just, I'd love to just be able to show them the future and show them what a lot of guys go through, and sit them down in family courts, or sit them down with guys who are devastated because their girlfriends cheated on them and left them, and, a few years in, happens a lot. I might go, oh shit, maybe this thing I'm being sold about this perfect thing, this woman having a girlfriend is the be all and end all, maybe isn't. I'm not saying there aren't some great women who make great girlfriends. There are. This isn't a channel about women hating. This is just straight up me giving you my experiences and giving you some wisdom through years of interacting probably with thousands of women and sleeping with probably hundreds of them. And that's not a brag. That's just the truth. All right, guys, thanks a lot for watching. If you made it to the end once again, let me know. And if you're enjoying this kind of content, as opposed to just straight up bagging slurries all the time, let me know. I like to be a bit more broad on this new channel. So let me know if you're enjoying it today. Thank you.